So reading is one of the most basic yet fundamental skills to have when it comes to overall success and self-improvement. Reading is to the mind what exercise is to the body. As you read more, you gain more neural pathways in your mind, basically meaning that you become smarter. Now, as you probably know, that most successful people can attribute their success to having read many books in their lifetime and to having reading as one of their daily habits overall. So reading different books will allow you to gain more information, which will overall help you acquire new skill sets and also to help you change your mindset. This can lead to things like more happiness overall, more income, and an overall better life. So with this in mind, there's a few tricks to help you read, and not only read faster, but to retain more of the information that you read. And in this video, we're going to talk about some of those tips. So welcome back to another video, guys. It's Brendon, so let's get right down into the tips. So starting off with the first portion of tips is going to be more geared towards increasing your reading speed, and with the first and most obvious tip that we have is to just read more books in general. You need to make reading a daily habit. Now, where most people mess up in this area is when they first begin to start reading, they read books that they're either not interested in or that are too complex to start off. So what you should do is you should read more simpler books or books that are in a subject area that you most enjoy reading about, whether that's fiction or non-fiction books. As the saying goes, you should read what you love until you love to read. And as you read more books and just build the consistency day over day, like any other habit, the more you do it, the better you'll get at it. So the next tip for increasing your overall reading speed is to not read out loud, but to also silence the voice in your head. You think a lot faster than you can speak words, so reading silently is a lot quicker than you trying to read out loud. And going along with reading silently, as most people read and as I read, you have a little voice in your head that's reading each word as you're going through the pages. And what you want to do is try to silence that voice as much as possible, because that's also slowing your reading speed down. What you should try to do is recognize words versus reading each word at a time. So instead of me saying the every time I see the, I recognize that it's the word the, so I don't have to say it every time I see it, and I can kind of just glaze over it and keep reading. So this will help you read less words, but also to just increase your reading speed overall, because you're not having to stop and look at every single word as you're reading it. Now, the final yet biggest tip that I have for you when it comes to increasing your reading speed overall is to use the technique known as tracing. Now, tracing is simply just using your finger or a pencil or highlighter to trace under the words as you're reading them. This will help you increase your reading speed because it'll keep your eyes from wandering around the page, which will slow down your reading speed overall. And it'll help you stay focused on the words as you're reading them, because you're trying to keep track of the motion of your finger. And if you keep it in a consistent speed across each sentence, then you'll stay more consistent with the amount of time that it takes for you to read each sentence of the page. And going along with tracing, you should use this technique to help you avoid rereading sentences, which will decrease your reading speed overall. And you should also try to use your peripheral vision when you're reading, because you shouldn't be reading each and every single word as I mentioned earlier, but you should be using the peripheral vision to look more on the ends of the pages to try to anticipate the words that are coming, so that you can keep your reading speed up overall. I utilize these techniques with my reading, and I was able to increase my overall reading speed from about the average of about 200 words to now around 400 words per minute. So I'm able to read books a lot more quicker than I was able to. And for you to be able to test this, I used the test from the book Limitless by James Quick. And basically, in order to test, you take 2 rounds. The first round, you just time yourself by reading a book at normal speed for about 60 seconds. Then when you finish, you count the number of lines that you read per minute, which is your LPM. Then you want to count that number of words in an average line, and an average line is basically how many words are in a line that reaches both ends of the page. So you shouldn't count lines that are cut halfway through the page. Once you have this, then you multiply your LPM by the number of words to find your reading speed in words per minute. And like I said, most people can read roughly 200 to 250 words per minute. So the first round, you just want to use this as a baseline to see what your reading speed is by not using the techniques at all, but just reading at your normal pace. And then use the techniques that I just mentioned before and time yourself again to see if that helped you improve overall. Moving on to the tips that will help you increase your overall retention of the books that you read now, we start with the first tip, which is to highlight as you read. You shouldn't be highlighting every single word on every single page, but what you should be highlighting is, the main points of the book or anything that stands out to you. Now, this will just help you go back and read through the book and find, the key points as you take notes later on. This will just help you remember a lot more things from what you read. For tip number 2, you want to break your reading sessions into about 20 to 30 minute increments with a 5-minute break in between. For most people that study or do any type of academic work, you may have heard of the Pomodoro technique, which is technique basically saying that you do 25 minutes of work and 5 minutes of rest, because the average human can only pretty much focus for about 25 minutes before you need a rest. And this will help you retain more information as you read. It will help you not burn out as you're reading. What you want to do after the 5 minutes is up is to write down everything that you remember from what you have just read. And this technique is also known as active recall. So you want to try to remember as much as you read from the previous chapter or whatever, however many pages you read, and try to write it down in a notebook or on a sheet of paper. And once you write this down, then you want to go back into the book and look at your highlights that you have and fill in any of the highlights that you missed. Writing down notes and taking notes on the books that you read will just help you remember the information overall and apply the information later. Now for tip number 3, as you read through books after each day, when you come back the next day to read the book again, you want to go through your notes and reread your notes from what you previously read. Now this will not only help prep you for the reading for the day, but it'll also help you practice remember the information that you read throughout the book, so it's easier for you to recall the information later down the line when you have read multiple books by that time. And the final yet most important tip overall for retention and increasing your reading speed, as I mentioned earlier, is just practice and time overall. The more consistent you are with your daily habits of reading, the more you'll be able to retain the information that you read easier and read a lot faster, gaining you a lot more information on books out there. Books are very important when it comes to income building, wealth building, financial building, or anything that you want to learn overall. Like many successful people, like I said, read a lot of books in order to gain an advantage against competition and gain an advantage overall. You want to be able to read and gain as much information as you possibly can. The more information you know and the more perspectives that you gain from reading these books, the more dangerous that you'll be overall. And that's just being able to apply this information to your own life and to businesses that you open up, or if you're in the job market, gaining more information about your industry, being more marketable to employers is very important. Anything in life, the more you learn, the more you earn. Reading books overall is just a habit that I think that everybody needs to have as the most basic and fundamental level if you want to increase your overall success and self-improvement overall. So with that, thank you for tuning in to another video, and thank you for sticking around to the end. If you haven't already, check out one of my book reviews that I have up on my page about The Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel. Also check out my productive routine video where I also go over some of the reading habits that I have throughout my day. Make sure you like and subscribe, comment down below some of the books that you plan on reading or any book recommendations that you have, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace.